Good afternoon, everybody. This is Lara with your Monday to Friday update for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP. Technicals only for Bitcoin. I've just completed my Elliott Wave analysis for that, and I did I think it was a 17-minute video for my membership. If you want Bitcoin Elliott Wave analysis, you can get it. You'll have to go to my website. There are links in the description box down below. It's not free. You'll have to pay for it. Sometimes the best things in life are free, but not everything in life is free, and it'll probably pay for itself within a week. Bitcoin's closed to new all-time highs, so let's look at the full price history at the monthly time frame. The previous high from this crypto compare data was 68,789.63. Price is closed above that point, so now let's look for support about 68,800. So previous resistance now turns to support. Overall volume is showing overall a steady increase, although the completed month for February 2024 showed a slight decline. That's okay, doesn't have to show an absolute increase every single month. Sometimes during a bullish run it'll have a decline and then it'll turn around and increase. RSI is now overbought at the monthly time frame, but there's such a long way to go before it's as overbought as it can get. Using this channel, this is Paul Webborn's idea from Twitter, and I think it's going to work pretty well. I'll be waiting for RSI to reach up to this resistance line on this channel, and I'll be relying really heavily on my Elliott Wave count and other classic analysis methods, because just because it reaches this upper edge of this channel doesn't mean that's where the bullish run has to end. We could see a retreat and then a second test of the channel before it moves lower, or it could just end with one touch of the channel. One touch here, two touches here, and two here. So it could be one or two, and if it's two, they could be several months apart. So a complete Elliott Wave count is an absolute must for trying to identify the end of this bullish run. I'll be relying very heavily on that. Let's go through the technicals on the daily with a little bit more detail. Price is closed to new all-time highs. This current session for the 11th of March is moving up quite strongly with a bullish long lower wick. Look for support now at 68,800. I'm struggling to try and tell you what's the probability of a backtest of support. I think it's less than 50%. I'll say maybe 40%. We could see a backtest of support about 68,800 before price moves up and away, but we might not see that, and I'll say 60% unlikely, because now that price is closed to new all-time highs, we have a technical upward breakout. We could now see a release of energy to the upside. We could start to see an even greater increase in volatility, range, momentum, volume, a huge explosion and upward movement for Bitcoin. I expect it's got several months, at least 5 months, maybe 11 months before the end of this bullish run. The last completed upward session has a slight increase in volume beyond the previous session, but overall, there is a little bit of decline in volume in the last few days of upward movement. Does include a weekend though, so I would expect to see a strong increase in volume over coming days. If not, then I'd say the probability of a pullback to test support would actually get a little bit higher. ADX still tells us the upward trend is very extreme, but not as extreme as it can get when this market has a bullish run. RSI is still overbought. I'm not going to try and identify divergence because there's no pivot on price and no pivot on RSI to identify divergence between these points. You have to wait for a pivot to develop to filter out those times when you see potential divergence, and it just disappears, and that actually happens a fair amount. Likewise, money flow, no bearish divergence to develop because there's no, or to identify because there's no pivot. And money flow is neutral, not overbought. ATR still showing a steady increase. Volatility returns to this market, absolutely normal to see with a strong bullish run. I've been saying for a long time, I've been expecting new all-time highs from Bitcoin. I've been expecting it for over a year, and here we are, and I expect that it was not a double top. This is this early to mid phase of a really strong bullish run like we've seen before on Bitcoin. I've been so bullish on this for such a long time, and I've put a lot of my own money exactly where my mouth is, and I'm looking to exit at the end of a huge third wave. My Elliott Wave count for Ethereum is still very bullish, and I expect a third wave may have passed its middle. I might revise this to see the middle of the third wave still ahead. Either way, I expect the Elliott Wave count for Ethereum sees a third wave at minuet, minute, minor, intermediate, primary, and cycle. So a third wave at 6 degrees continuing on up. Keep redrawing the acceleration channel from the end of minute 1, which is off to the left of the chart, to the last high, place a copy on the end of minute 2. As price keeps moving higher, keep redrawing the channel. The lower edge may provide support for any deeper pullbacks along the way up. These numbers are not targets, these are ballpark figures for where these third waves may possibly end. But for Ethereum, I'm looking for the end of primary 3, not just minute or minor. I'm buying and holding, and the big reason why I really want to get this idea through is it's the fifth wave. 10 third waves 1 degree higher that are the strongest portion of upward movement. This is where you get the most profit in the shortest amount of time. I expect minute 5 to be longer than minute 3. I expect minuet 5 to be longer than minuet 3, and these fifth waves to cover the greatest distance in the shortest amount of time. Likewise, minor 5 to end intermediate 3, and most importantly, intermediate 5 to end primary wave 3. The end of primary wave 3 to come for Ethereum, that's where I might possibly exit some or all of my position, or my holding. I might want to exit at the end of cycle wave 3, which could be some years away. I don't know if I want to hold throughout primary 4 though, but I do not want to miss the gains of intermediate 5 to end primary 3. And if you keep getting in and out and trying to day trade, you risk the possibility of not buying and holding throughout that huge fifth wave when price just goes vertical. I want to make sure I'm holding for that. Technicals on the daily, Ethereum is breaking to new highs. Look out for some next resistance coming up ahead, about 4,200. If we do see that, any pullbacks for support now, I expect support to hold about 3,580. This current session is a stronger range with a bullish long lower wick. So that's bullish, and it tells us that Ethereum is probably going to continue upward for the short term. This current upward session so far has support from volume compared to the previous 2 sessions, but overall a little bit of a decline in volume for Ethereum as well suggested a little bit of weakness. We could see a pullback to support. I think on balance of probability though, it's more likely it's just going to keep going up. ADX is declining. It reached very extreme. It's currently indicating no clear trend. It's not going to take much though to turn the black ADX line up and tell us Ethereum is back in an upward trend. RSI has reached reasonably deeply overbought. It can remain further overbought for quite a long period of time though when this market has a bullish run. Bearish divergence. We saw a sharp little pullback, but price is now continuing on higher. There's a pivot here, but there's no corresponding reasonable pivot in price, so I'm not going to identify this further divergence. And ATR just continues to show a strong increase. Ethereum has volatility returning to the market as well. This is really bullish. My analysis for XRP for a while has also been expecting quite a lot of upward movement, and it's managing to give us some of that quite explosively today, which is good to see. Draw this base channel on the weekly chart. Draw the first trend line from the start of 1 to the end of 2 down here. Place a copy on the end of 1. This is the low for the week beginning 13th of August. And here we have the low for week beginning 28th of January. Look out for potentially some resistance at the upper edge of that channel. We might see a pullback before a breakthrough. We might see a back test of support before moving up and away. The power of minor 3 within intermediate 3 within primary 3 should have the power to break through resistance at the upper edge of that channel. If and when that happens, we'll have some further confidence that XRP is indeed in a third wave up. The bigger picture for this Elliott Wave count sees XRP in a third wave at cycle degree. So we have nested third waves, minor, intermediate, primary and cycle. This is an incredibly bullish Elliott Wave count for XRP. My target for primary 3, if it's wrong, it might not be high enough. This 15.66 is not a Fibonacci ratio. It's a previous ratio exhibited at the monthly time frame. This low here is this low here. Last analysis of XRP, I took you through a couple of ideas, and I wanted to say we could see a pullback for C to move below the end of A, but on balance of probability, I said I thought it was more likely it was just over there, and today, well, that's what's happening. So updating my Elliott Wave count, I now expect for XRP, it's in the early stage of a third wave at 1-2 degrees within potentially a first wave, but I might move the degree of labelling here up 1 degree. This could have been minute wave 1 within minor 3. In fact, I think I am going to do that. This is one of the reasons I really love motive wave. So I'm going to just disconnect that, delete this, move the degree of this, and immediately it's all moved up 1 degree. Within minor 3, I now expect minute 1 and 2 are complete, minuet 1 and 2 are complete. So now this wave count expects a third wave at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because we've got primary and cycle at higher time frames. A third wave at 6 degrees is in its really early phases. So that fits this explosive upward movement we're seeing today from XRP. This is a really bullish Elliott Wave count. Someone asked me recently by sending me an email through. They use the contact form on my website. If you ever want to send me an email, use that form on my website. I get the emails daily. They asked me for a target for -3. I'm not going to calculate a ballpark figure or a target for -3 for you. I probably shouldn't be doing it for Ethereum either, because I really want us to really focus on the bigger picture here, guys. The ends of intermediate 3, primary 3, and cycle 3, that's where you're going to get the most profit. If you're going to be in and out all the time trying to day trade it, you potentially run the risk of not being in at the start of that explosive volatile upward movement at the end of parabolic growth, and that's where you're going to get the most profit. XRP has broken above what was resistance at 0.675. Resistance now turns to support. Look for next resistance above about 82 cents. Upward movement today is really explosive. It comes with a strong increase in volume. Volume for this session. The session is incomplete. I'm recording this at 1:30 in the afternoon New York time, so there's still a few hours to go. It could turn out to be stronger than volume for 5th of March. Doesn't have to be, though, to be bullish. It is really bullish already. ADX has pulled itself down to below 15. Really exciting to see ADX managing this for XRP. The DX lines have been whipsawing. There's no clear trend, but if upward session today, which is pretty indicative of the overall trend, still going upward, and at higher time frames it's obviously upward. If that's indicative, then we're in the new phases of a huge bullish run for XRP. I'll be watching how ADX behaves this week. It might be giving us a strong signal either way, bull or bear. Let's keep an eye on that this week. RSI is in neutral, as is money flow. There is such a long way to go for XRP to reach an extreme trend. If this is correct, this is the very, very early stages of a strong bullish run for XRP. And that's it for me today with your analysis of these three, and I hope everyone had a lovely weekend. I'm in York for the next few days, and I'll be moving on up to Edinburgh and having a look through Scotland over the next few weeks.